Welcome back to the Cynthia Clark Book Club. We are going to read Chapter 1 of our first book, which is The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. This book you can get in PDF form on my website, and I'll have it posted somewhere. But once you get to the website, you can click on the image of the book and it'll take you to a PDF file, and you can read on the computer. You can print it out, or you can buy the actual book online. I got my actual book from Walmart.com, or you can just order or go into a bookstore and get it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read Chapter 1, which is called The Game. I'm going to post it on in YouTube and on Facebook, and you can make comments about what we're reading. It's real simple, and I'm just going to get started. Most people consider life a battle, but it is not a battle. It is a game. It is a game, however, which cannot be played successfully without the knowledge of spiritual law, and the Old and New Testaments give the rules of the game with wonderful clearness. Jesus Christ taught that it was a great game of giving and receiving. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. This means that whatever man sends out in word or deed will return to him. What he gives, he will receive. Pause. Whenever I'm going to make my little comments, I'm going to say pause. Anyway, it says here that whatever man sends out in word or deed will return to him. What he gives, he will receive. And the point I want to make here is sometimes when we give, it doesn't come back from the same person that we give to. It may come back another way through another person. But just know this, it comes back. I'm going to continue reading. If we give hate, we will receive hate. If he gives love, he will receive love. If he gives criticism, he will receive criticism. If she lies, she will be lied to. If she cheats, she will be cheated. We are taught also that the imaging faculty plays a leading part in the game of life. Keep thy heart or imagination with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. That's Proverbs 4:23. This means that what man images or woman images, sooner or later externalizes in his affairs. I know of a man who feared a certain disease. It was a very rare disease and difficult to get, but he pictured it continually and read about it until it manifested in his body, and he died the victim of distorted imagination. So we see, to play successfully the game of life, we must train the imaging faculty. A person with an imaging faculty trained to image only good, which is something I'm really working on, brings into his life every righteous desire of his heart: health, wealth, love, friends, perfect self-expression, his highest ideals. The imagination has been called the scissors of the mind, and it is ever cutting day by day the pictures man sees there, and sooner or later he meets his own creations in his outer world. To train the imagination successfully, man must understand the workings of his mind. The Greeks said, know thyself. There are three departments of the mind: the subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. The subconscious is simply power without direction. It is like steam or electricity, and it does what it is directed to do. It has no power of induction. Whatever man feels deeply or images clearly is impressed upon the subconscious mind and carried out in minutest detail. For example, a woman I know, when a child, always made believe she was a widow. She dressed up in black clothes and wore a long black veil, and people thought she was very clever and amusing. She grew up and married a man with whom she was deeply in love. In a short time, he died, and she wore black and a sweeping veil for many years. The picture of herself as a widow when she was a child, was impressed upon the subconscious mind, and in due time worked itself out, regardless of the havoc it created. The conscious mind has been called mortal or carnal mind. It is the human mind and sees life as it appears to be. It sees death, disaster, sickness, poverty, and limitation of every kind, and it impresses the subconscious. The superconscious mind is the God mind within each man or woman, and is the realm of perfect ideas. In it is the perfect pattern spoken of by Plato, the divine design, for there is a divine design for each person. There is a place that you are to feel and no one else can feel. Something you are to do which no one else can do. There is a perfect picture of this in the superconscious mind. It actually slashes across the conscious as an unattainable ideal, something too good to be true. In reality, it is man's or woman's true destiny or destination, flashed to him from the infinite intelligence which is within his self. Many people, however, are in ignorance of their true destinies and are striving for things and situations which do not belong to them and would only bring failure and dissatisfaction if attained. Pause. Sometimes we need to be happy when we're trying to get something and it doesn't come. Sometimes it is a blessing in disguise. Sometimes it's stopping something from getting to you before you're ready. And when you're ready for it, it'll come, and then you can keep it. Okay, back to the book. For example, a woman came to me and asked me to speak the word that she would marry a certain man with whom she was very much in love. She called him A.B. I replied, this would be a violation of spiritual law, but that I would speak the word for the right man, the divine selection, the man who belonged to her by divine right. I added, if A.B. is the right man, you can't lose him. And if he isn't, you will receive his equivalent. She saw A.B. frequently, but no headway was made in their friendship. One evening she called and said, do you know, for the last week, A.B. hasn't seemed so wonderful to me? I replied, maybe he is not the divine selection. Another man might be the right one. Soon after that, she met another man who fell in love with her at once and who said she was his ideal. In fact, he said all the things she had always wished A.B. would say to her. She remarked it was quite uncanny. She soon returned his love and lost all interest in A.B. This shows the law of substitution. A right idea was substituted for a wrong one. Therefore, there was no loss or sacrifice involved. Jesus Christ said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And he said the kingdom was within man. The kingdom is the realm of right ideas, or the divine pattern. Jesus Christ taught that man's words played a leading part in the game of life. That's why we have to be careful, Paul. That's why we have to be careful what we say. That's something I am working on all the time. By your words, I'm back to the book. By your words ye are justified, and by your words ye are condemned. Many people have brought disaster into their lives through idle words. Pause. Through idle words, thinking that your words don't mean anything and that your words have no power. But words are powerful as hell. So anyway, back to the book. For example, a woman once asked me why her life was now one of poverty and limitation. Formerly, she had a home, was surrounded by beautiful things and had often tired of the management of her home, and had said repeatedly, "I am sick and tired of things. I wish I lived in a trunk." And she added, "Today I am living in that trunk." She had spoken herself into a trunk. The subconscious mind has no sense of humor, and people often joke themselves into unhappy experiences. For example, a woman who had a great deal of money joked continually about getting ready for the poorhouse. In a few years, she was almost destitute, having impressed the subconscious mind with a picture of lack and limitation. Fortunately, the law works both ways, and a situation of lack may be changed to one of plenty. That's what I'm working on. Plenty. Back to the book. For example, a woman came to me one hot summer's day for treatment for prosperity. She was worn out, dejected, and discouraged. She said she possessed just $8 in the world. I said, "Good. We'll bless the $8 and multiply them as Jesus Christ multiplied the loaves and fishes." He taught that every man had the power to bless and to multiply, to heal and to prosper. She said, "What shall I do next?" I replied, "Follow intuition." Have you a hunch to do anything or to go anywhere? Intuition means intuition, or to be taught from within. It means an unerring guide. And I will deal more fully with this, or fully with its laws, in the following chapter. The woman replied, "I don't know. I seem to have a hunch to go home. I've just enough money for car fare." Her home was in a distant city and was one of lack and limitation. And the reasoning mind, or your intellect, would have said, "Stay in New York and get a job, make some money." I replied, then go home. Never violate a hunch." I spoke the following words for her. "Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance for Sheila." I'm just putting a name in there because it has a dash. I'm going to say it again. "Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance for Sheila. She is an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to her by divine right." I told her to repeat it continually. She left for home immediately, and calling on a woman one day, she linked up with an old friend of her family. Through this friend, she received thousands of dollars in a most miraculous way. She has said to me often, "Tell people about the woman who came to you with $8 and a hunch." There is always plenty on a man's pathway. There is always plenty on a woman's pathway. But it can only be brought into manifestation through desire, faith, or the spoken word. Jesus Christ brought out clearly that man must make the first move. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. That's Matthew 7:7. In the scriptures we read, "Concerning the works of my hand, command ye me." Infinite intelligence, God, is ever ready to carry out man or woman's smallest or greatest demands. Every desire, uttered or unexpressed, is a demand. We are often startled by having a wish suddenly fulfilled. For example, one Easter, having seen many beautiful rose trees in the florist's windows, I wished I would receive one, and for an instant saw it mentally being carried in the door. Easter came, and with it a beautiful rose tree. I thanked my friend the following day and told her it was just what I had wanted. She replied, "I didn't send you a rose tree. I sent you lilies." The man had mixed the order and sent me a rose tree simply because I had started the law in action and I had to have a rose tree. Nothing stands between man or woman and her highest ideals and every desire of her heart but doubt and fear. Nothing stands between what we want but doubt and fear. When man can wish without worrying, every desire will be instantly fulfilled. That's something I'm working on. I let worry slip in occasionally, and I'm noticing it, and I'm working on not worrying, just asking for it and bam, letting it happen, because I've had many experiences where it has happened just like that. Back to the book. I will explain more in a following chapter the scientific reason for this, and fear must be erased from the consciousness. It is man's only enemy. Fear of lack, fear of failure, fear of sickness, fear of loss, and a feeling of insecurity on some plane. Jesus Christ said, "Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith?" That's Matthew 8:26. So we can see we must substitute faith for fear. For fear is only inverted faith. It is faith in evil instead of good. The object of the game of life is to see clearly one's good and to obliterate all mental pictures of evil. You know what? I'm off the book now. I have seen people, and I have done this before, that every time you talk to them, they're talking about something bad happening to them. But they don't want bad to happen to them. They've just gotten into a habit of only looking for the freaking bad. And so we need to focus on what we want, not on what we don't want. So if we have the choice to focus on something bad happening to us, or we have the choice of focusing on something good happening to us, doesn't it make sense for us to focus on the good? And then some people may say, well, that's pie in the sky. Well, damn, if we got a choice, why not focus on the pie in the sky? Back to the book. The object of the game of life is to see clearly one's good and to obliterate all mental pictures of evil. This must be done by impressing the subconscious mind with a realization of good. A very brilliant man who has attained great success told me he had suddenly erased all fear from his consciousness by reading a sign which he hung in a room. He saw printed in large letters this statement: "Why worry? It will probably never happen." These words were stamped indelibly upon his subconscious mind, and he has now a firm conviction that only good can come into his life. Therefore, only good can manifest. In the following chapter, I will deal with the different methods of impressing the subconscious mind. It is man's faithful servant, but one must be careful to give it right orders. Man has ever a silent listener at his side, his subconscious mind. Every thought, every word is impressed upon it and carried out in amazing detail. It is like a singer making a record on the sensitive disc of the phonographic plate. Every note and tone of the singer's voice is registered. If he coughs or hesitates, it is also registered. So let us break all the old bad records in the subconscious mind, the records of our lives which we do not wish to keep, and make new, beautiful ones. Speak these words aloud with power and conviction. Speak these words aloud with power and conviction. I now smash and demolish by my spoken word every untrue record in my subconscious mind. They shall return to the dust heap of their native nothingness, for they came from my own vain imaginings. I now make my perfect records through the Christ within, the records of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. This is the square of life, the game completed. In the following chapters, I will show you how man can change his conditions by changing his words. Any man who does not know the power of the word is behind the times. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. That's Proverbs 18:21.